Hi.
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 I'm Bob Berry.
Hey, that's my line. Hi, I'm Bob Berry, and today we're going to talk about Florida DOT pre-trip inspections. Dawson Wiles is going to walk us through it. Welcome, Dawson.
The first thing for your in-cab inspection, what you want to do is when you get in the cab, you've got to make sure that you have 3 points of contact, okay? Your 3 points of contact, which that means you got to have either 2 feet in one hand on contact getting in the vehicle and out, or you must have 2 hands and 1 foot making contact to the vehicle at all times, whether you're getting in or out of the vehicle. The next thing after you get in, you're going to check your 3 safety features, which are going to be your fire extinguisher, that it is properly mounted and secured. You're going to have to make sure that it is in the green and on the gauge, and it's not past the expiration date. The next thing you're going to check is your 3 DOT triangles. They are properly mounted and secured. All 3 DOT triangles are present and accounted for. None of them are cracked, damaged, or broken. They're properly mounted and secure. And your spare fuses. Spare fuses are more than likely going to be up here. They are properly mounted, secure, and accounted for. Next thing I'm going to check is my seatbelt. I'm going to pull it out. What I'm looking for here is I'm making sure it's not twisted. I'm making sure there's no cuts or any frays, no burn marks, nothing there. All that looks good. The next thing I'm going to check is my upper and lower mounts for my seatbelt and my side mount. The upper and lower mounts are properly mounted and secured. All my nuts and bolts are present and tight. My side mount itself is properly mounted and secure. All my nuts and bolts are present and tight. I'm going to check my seat belt to make sure it actually buckles in and unbuckles, buckles and unbuckles. All right, so the first step for the safety startup, which you must do in your test and present, is you must have your key to the on position to make sure your gauges fluctuate and go back to normal, which they will. Okay, the next step is you're gonna make sure that your truck is in the neutral position, which it is. The next thing is gonna be where your clutch pushed all the way in. You're gonna put light pressure on the brake and start the vehicle. That is a safety startup. After the truck is turned on, then you're gonna let your right foot off the brake slowly, and then you're gonna take your left foot and slowly let the clutch out. And that will conclude your safety startup. First thing we're gonna check is my driver door mirror. The mirror itself is clean, properly mounted and secured. There's no cracks, it's not broken in any way, and there's no illegal stickers. Coming over to my windshield, it's a 2-piece windshield. You're gonna check to make sure that your weather strips are properly mounted and secure, and since they are rubber, there's no dry rot. I'm looking for any kind of water leaks or anything that's coming around them. Everything looks good there. I'm checking both of my windows, my windshield, to make sure that there's no cracks, no dings in it. I'm making sure that it's clean, it's properly clean, and that there's no illegal stickers anywhere. Everything looks good. Coming down, I'm gonna check my windshield wipers. Gonna make sure that they are properly mounted and secured. I'm looking at my wipers themselves. They are both touching the glass, and since they are rubber, they are not dry rotted. I'm gonna check to make sure that they work and that they put out water. So coming to my gauges, my oil pressure is at proper operating level. My gauge is working properly. My water temperature gauge, it is working properly and is at proper operating level. My RPM gauge, it is working properly. The gauge is working properly as well as at operating level. Speedometer, we won't be able to check till we get out there on the road. And the next thing I'm going to check is my volts. My volts are at 14.2. They must be between 12 to 15 volts. Coming over to my fuel gauge, there's enough fuel in it for our trip. and the gauge is working properly, coming down to my primary and my secondary air gauges. My primary and secondary air gauges are working properly, and the proper operating level is between 120 to 140 PSI. That is the governor cutoff. You must say that. 120 to 140 PSI is the governor cutoff. Next thing I'm gonna check is my left turn signal. It is working properly, illuminated on my dash. My right turn signal is working properly and is illuminated on my dash as well. Next thing I'm gonna check is my hazards. It is working properly and both are illuminated on my dash. My high beam indicator is working properly and is also illuminated on my dash. So next thing I'm gonna check is my defrost. I'm gonna turn my air on. I'm gonna turn my air to heat, and then I'm gonna turn it to my defrost. I'm physically gonna check underneath my dash and on top of my dash to make sure hot air is being put out. Okay, so after checking your defrost, you must check your air horn and your city horn. You must check them during your test. You're gonna come up here, tug on it one time. That horn is working properly. Then you're gonna come down to your city horn, and you're gonna have to make sure it's working properly as well. You're gonna hit it one time, and it is working properly as well. To begin the air brakes portion of the test, what you're gonna have to do is first thing you're gonna check is make sure that both of your gauges are at governor cutoff between 120 to 140 PSI, okay? You must say that for your air brakes test as well, 120 to 140 PSI, governor cutoff for both gauges. So after you have confirmed that, you're gonna come over to your buttons here, your trailer and your tractor brakes. You're gonna wanna test your tractor brakes first. So you're gonna physically push in your trailer brakes, okay? Then you're gonna clutch in, put your truck in first gear, and slowly let the clutch out until you feel a tug. All right, the tractor brakes are working properly. When you put your truck in first gear, you must keep it in first gear the rest of the time. So, your tractor brakes are working properly. What you want to do now is you want to test your trailer brakes. So you want to pull this button out, push this button in to test these trailer brakes. Your tractor brakes are pushed in now, so your truck's still in first gear. You do not want to take it out of gear. Slowly let the clutch out till you feel a tug. All right, after that is working properly, you know your trailer brakes are working properly as well. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna move on to our service brake. You're gonna make sure that both of your buttons are pushed in for this. Your truck is still in first gear, and you're gonna slowly let the clutch out to let the truck roll forward at 5 miles an hour. We're gonna do that now. Slowly let the clutch out. Your truck and trailer begins to roll. You're gonna clutch in and slowly bring the truck to a stop to test your service brake. So after you have finished your service brake test, you're gonna go to your lab test. That is your leaks, alarms, and buttons test. How you're gonna check for leaks is you're gonna have to keep the truck in first gear. You do not touch these buttons again. Do not touch them after you test your service brake. You push them in, you test your service brake, do not touch these anymore. These stay pushed in. Truck is in first gear. You're gonna keep your clutch in and you're gonna turn the truck off, okay? Make sure your governor cutoff is at between 120 to 140 PSI. I have confirmed that. We're gonna turn the truck off. Now what you wanna do is you wanna turn your truck to the on position without starting it. Make sure your gauges and all of your display is illuminated and your gauges fluctuate. This is so you can read your gauges for any leaks. What you're gonna do now is you're actually gonna hold your brake down for 60 seconds and watch for leaks. The gauges cannot drop more than 4 PSI within 60 seconds. You must count this out loud for your instructor. So that's what we're gonna do now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, this is pretty long, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60. All right, so after you have finished counting out your 60 seconds, you can let your foot off the brake. Neither of my gauges went down more than 4 PSI. That is a correct leak test. After that, you're going to continue with your test for your alarms. You're going to begin fanning your brakes to make your gauges come down between 55 and 60 PSI, which is when your alarms and all your visible and audible alarms will come on. So after that, you're going to begin fanning your brakes. Your gauges are going to begin dropping and then once it hits 55, between 55 and 60, your audible and visible alarms have came on. Okay, low air. Your alarms are working properly, then you're going to continue fanning your brakes between 20 to 40 PSI to make your buttons pop out. I'm going to continue fanning my brakes to make sure my buttons pop out between 20 to 40 PSI. You must say that during your test. 20 to 40 PSI. All right, my button test succeeded as well. Both of my buttons have been pulled out. My audible and visual alarms have come out, and it's between 20 to 40 PSI. And that is a correct air brakes test. So after finishing your buttons test for your air brakes test, this will conclude your in-cab inspection.
And remember, thorough inspection, proper maintenance, and good communication always makes for a safe trip. Don't forget to subscribe and look for another Sims Crane Minute coming soon.